Terrific. So let's see, let's start with Naomi Pitkin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Naomi. I'm the outreach coordinator for SLC Arts. Is that short enough?
That's short enough.
Okay.
Brooke Rouse from the St. Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brooke Rouse, the Director of Tourism now for the St. Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce, also a business owner and fan of the Arts Council for many years.
Thanks for being here. Marina Lowe.
Hi, I'm Marina. I'm the curator of the Thousand Islands Art Center, and I'm also an artist when I'm not curating.
Awesome. Annie Davey.
Hi, I'm Annie Davey from the Potsdam Public Library, and I have lots of experience doing web design and various involvements with the arts. I'm also the president of the North Country Fiddlers and have done a website for them.
That's great. And then Anita.
Anita Prather
Oh.
Harville. And I'm also a performing artist, singer and actress.
Terrific. Okay, let's just jump right into our questions here. We have a little outline and we're going to try to stick to that. If you have any questions, we'll stop a few minutes early so that you can ask any questions that you may have of the panelists. So let's talk about the very first thing, why? Why is it important? And again, we're artists and arts organizations here. Why is it important for us to have websites? Does one of the panelists want to be brave and get us started?
I could. I know for our organization, people want to visit you when they've seen what you have to offer, and you can do that through your website. So often new people to town will go online and say, what is there to do in Clayton? And when your website pops up and it shows them what you have to offer, it's a way to draw people in to what you do. So that's one. I'll let another panelist go.
I'd be happy to share kind of like another side of that. So websites are an awesome example of how you can have like a home spot for your information. Social media is great, but social media has a different purpose than your website. So for example, the Arts Council, St. Lawrence County Arts Council, we use ours for ticket sales, but also posting events on there, forms for that, making sure people can register with us for a creative partnership, and other stuff like that.
Great. What about
on a website, you get to be in control of how it's organized. And I think from a librarian's perspective, that is all important. On social media, it's just kind of things scroll the way they scroll. You get to see what you get to see. But on a website, you can put forward the most important information that you want people to see.
And to piggyback on that, on a website, you control the messaging and you can control the variety of the messaging and what you want people to focus on. Whereas social media, you can start that conversation, but your customers or your social media followers will kind of dictate where it goes from there.
And I would add, kind of from the business perspective, as an artist, to have a place where you're presenting not just your art, but kind of your brand and how people can engage and ultimately give you money for whatever it is you're trying to do. That's a place where you can outline those opportunities, whether it's custom work or your typical products or services or whatever it is. That's where you can list those items there so that they can see your full range of offerings. But also, I think that it gives you an opportunity, I may have already just said this, but kind of brand yourself beyond your art. So your art brands yourself, but having a really professional website speaks volumes to a potential client who's going to say, this person is serious. They are taking this seriously as a business and as an artist. And so that's just another opportunity to kind of show your professionalism.
Anybody else have any other comments on that? So we kind of made a little list. So if there's anything, this may be repeating some, but being visible and easy to contact, driving sales, solidifying your credibility, copyright protection, staying relevant, using as a personal portfolio, have a creative ownership. You can blog, you can grow, and also be part of a community.
I would just add to the business kind of aspect in networking also, it's nice to be able to give a business card or to verbally say, you can check out my stuff at .com and easily kind of market yourself verbally or in writing versus saying, oh, if you go onto Etsy and you Google this or that, you might find my page. And then you might find my contact information, but probably not because it's hidden and you'd have to message me, you know. You get the point.
So Naomi went into this a little bit. I'd like to talk for a few minutes about the difference between having a website and using social media, which we spoke about last month. So kind of comparing and contrast those two, if we could. Anita, can I point to you?
Sorry, I actually have a connection that's cutting in and out, so everything's freezing. So the different social media and the web. So can you repeat your question because you actually cut out?
Oh, sure. How is having a website different from using social media? We started and just want to come back to that a little.
Gotcha. Again, as the panelists have said, the website is a
oh boy.
Repository the message. You decide what you want people to know or see or reference, and it's generally it's static. It's a website. It's a repository. Where social media is that engagement piece, and if your website does what it says, you can actually refer people back to your website, and it's actually a check and balance. Your social media is how you communicate your message. Social media, folks are going to go back to that website to see if you actually say what you're going to, what you said you're going to do on social media. If you say you have great pictures, if you're an artist or your portfolio is this, they're going to go back to your website. So your social media is your megaphone or your microphone, and your website is that, that message.
Great.
Kind of going off of that, I feel like kind of taking your point there, social media is more for that interaction with your audience, while your website is it can serve as a general information space. So information on your events. We're working on setting up an artist and business directory on our website. So that can be really helpful for people to see on your social media, but then link back to for more information. Social media is kind of like just a little glimpse here and there because you don't want it to be too long or too much, because as people are scrolling, their attention span is just not going to be as long. But on your website, you have the opportunity to take advantage of the fact that they want to see your website and learn more about your artistic career or your arts organization, and they want to know everything they can about you.
And they relate together to social media and your website. So you can drive traffic both directions, one to the other.
And it's important to remember that not everyone has social media. So although you can still be found on Facebook, it's not everybody's preference. So having a website is a good addition.
Yeah, and actually adding on to that too, well, yeah, sure, many of us like to just scroll forever on social media. If I wanted to see what was the show I saw at the Met 3 years ago, I'm not going to sit there forever to scroll through the social media to get to that. I'm going to go to the website and I'm going to look up past exhibits. So a website, like I think Anita was saying, it's like this repository that you can go back in time. And I feel like social media is more like instant present. So yeah, so that's one benefit of a website over the social media.
Anything else to add to that, anyone, panelists? We're gonna skip ahead now and we're gonna talk a little bit about content and design. We'll start with what kinds of information you should have on your website. The content, text, images, video, sound, what it's going to contain, and then how much information is enough but not too much. So if we could.
I think you can have a lot of information on a website without it being too much if it's organized well. So it can be your repository for your whole exhibit history, your entire life as an artist, without being too much, as long as you have proper navigation.
I would say some things are pretty consistent throughout every website, especially if it's something for an artist or an arts organization. Like every page that you would see would normally have some section for an about or some section for contact us. And there's always a home page. So I think those things would be consistent regardless of what kind of website you have. But as you were saying, there's definitely the opportunity to have a lot of information on your website. Just make sure that it's organized well so people can navigate through it easily.
Anybody have anything to add to that?
This one might just be kind of more on the personal side. That I, as curator, I've seen a lot of artist websites. I get sent to them all the time. People are contacting me. So many good ones out there. Everyone is so unique, and it really depends on what your own message is. I guess one thing that I would recommend though is I've seen a couple where on the too much information side, I guess, is if it's one sculpture and it's a gorgeous piece, but you've put like 50 pictures of the same piece from like every possible angle. That is overload. You know, like find your top images of that piece rather than, you know, every single side all over the place. That would be overload to me. But otherwise, yeah, it's a very personal thing. It's kind of hard to answer that question, actually. Yeah.
Along those same lines, it should be efficient in the wording. I've seen a lot of websites where there's a lot of extraneous text, like get to the point. Put toward the top what your message is, the important details, and just the general principles of good writing. Keep it short and important.
I would add just a couple maybe more specific things, but you always want to have a call to action really visible. So if what you're trying to do is have someone buy your things, your shop now button should be really obvious. They shouldn't have to scroll around or dig into links for that, or whatever it is. That call to action should be very clear and easy. The images were mentioned. I think that's where, you know, paying to have professional photos done will pay for itself over and over and over again with your use on the website and making sure they're really high quality, and then you can use them on social and print and all those other places. So quality photos are definitely important. Yeah, those were a couple others that weren't mentioned or kind of mentioned.
So we've covered content. What about how should your website look? Whether it's structured, layout, design, graphics, navigation. How should it actually be? We want it to be appealing to our patrons. What are some ways of doing that?
Sorry to cut you off there, Alicia.
No,
I think appearance would definitely depend on what you're using your website for. So first decide what you want to use your website for. If it's to sell your artwork and kind of have a home spot for everything about your artistic career, then I would think about colors that really resonate with you that you could create as your brand and keep them consistent. If you're doing artwork on there, then make sure you have photos of your artwork, but don't go overboard, as it was mentioned before. But regardless of what you do, just make sure it's consistent. Like, you're not trying to change it all the time. You have the chance when you're creating a website to play around with different fonts, different layouts. So take the time to figure out what works best for you and what you want your website to be there for, and just take advantage of that.
I really like websites that have very simple top level navigation. So your main menu should be very short, maybe 5 categories, and then things nest under there. And I also have been loving websites lately that have a focal image, like the entire page is one image. It's just a style thing, but those where you're presented with something that looks simple instead of overwhelming at first glance.
And to add to that, it really goes to the simplicity, also goes to accessibility. That's a really big thing now, now I think a lot of artists overlook, because you have people in styles and those embellishments that we love as artists in our artwork don't necessarily translate well on your website. So think about the people that will have to use your website and use that and be able to interact with your website. How accessible is it? Are we using colors that, majority, for example, there's color blindness, and there's things that don't translate well when you're using screen reader software. So make sure that your website is accessible to any of your potential patrons or customers.
And this is actually kind of a fun question to answer, because my organization has actually been in the process of updating our website. And it's the first time in over 10 years we've had a whole new website rebrand, kind of. So when we worked with the developers, we had to answer this question: what did we want our website to be? And if I had to give some tips, it would be, first, go out there and find websites that appeal to you. What is it about them that appeals to you? Find out. I mean, it's perfectly okay for us, we went and looked at other museums. And we found our top 3 museum websites that we just adored, and what it was about those things that we liked and what we wanted to change. And then another thing that is really helpful for somebody designing your website, whether that's yourself or you're having someone else do it, is a color palette. We were talking a bit about color, but you don't want to go too crazy where it's all over the place on every page. You kind of want to stick to a specific color palette. So, all headers should be kind of this color, and then you're going to have all your buttons this color, and it makes it all cohesive, and it makes every page feel like it fits together. We did everything from also deciding what kind of font we wanted and where. We wanted dividers between certain elements within our front page. So what do you want that to look like? Do you want to have, as Annie was saying, one solid image on the front, or do you want to have a video that maybe is a walkthrough of your organization or your studio if you're an artist? Really look at other artists. If you're an artist or an organization, look at other websites and just get ideas from there. It's like the best way to start, I think.
Definitely. Good advice. Okay. Let's talk now. We've talked about aesthetics. What about engagement? How do you engage your audience? When someone comes to your website for information, is there, what do they see? One long scrolling page? Is there video? Are there hyperlinks? Whatever that might be. But how do you engage your audience so that it's more of an active experience versus a passive one? That's tougher with websites.
It was mentioned earlier, but having call to actions on our website, we have a lot of buttons that say more information, a lot of clickable links, hyperlinks, and stuff like that. So just the suggestion of having people engage. So to read more about this, you have to click this idea.
A lot of media outlets do that now too.
It's you can actually pay attention to what gets clicked as well. If you dig into your website analytics, you can tell what's working and what's not, and then tailor your future edits to that behavior.
And we had noted on our list before that you can use your website to engage customers kind of longer term, to generate leads to keep in touch with. So if you have a form on your site that directs to your Constant Contact or your MailChimp list, it's very easy to integrate into a website so that you can say, you know, join my blog updates, or get our news when we'll be going to different shows, or sign up for our quarterly newsletter, or whatever it might be. So that's another way to engage them there on the spot and also continue that relationship.
And I think it also goes again with your mission. So for example, Marina talked about redoing, we were actually in the process of redoing our website as well, and went through the exact same process of looking at other things. But one of the things we wanted to focus on and going forward, and as a mission change, is to promote events. So one of the things, instead of just having an events calendar, we actually invite artists or people to post their own events. So instead of them sending them to us and then we post them, we're going to invite them to submit it directly from the website. So that creates engagement, not only from looking for the events, but them actually submitting their own. So the more things you can give them to specifically do and do feedback, the better the engagement.
Let's talk a little bit now about e-commerce. I'd like to talk pros and cons. And panelists, as you are speaking, just let us know whether or not you have an e-commerce site, and if so, is that done yourself or is it done through someone else?
I could start. This was actually one of the biggest issues with our current website, because the new one's not up yet. We have a lot of art classes here. This is the main reason we needed to improve our e-commerce. Currently, to register for art classes, it's a pain to get through our website to even figure out where do you sign up, how do you register. Then once you fill out the form, it tends to take you off to like PayPal, which deters a lot of people. They don't want to go through PayPal, and sometimes you don't realize you don't have to have a PayPal account to be able to use it. And so it kept drawing people away from the website rather than keeping them in. So one of the biggest things in our new website that we really pushed was better e-commerce. That's not just for classes, that's for any registrations for events. That's for, eventually we might have an online shop. We have tickets to exhibitions, membership, donations, all of those things were being sent off. So we also were getting a ton of phone calls where people would just rather sit on the phone with us and give us their credit card information than fill out these forms because it was so confusing for them to do. So I guess at the end of all of that, I would suggest really investing in a good e-commerce platform. You could potentially be losing customers if they don't like the process.
We don't really have e-commerce going on exactly because everything's free at the library. But we have started using Eventbrite, which is fully capable of selling tickets to events. Ours happen to all be free, but most of the process is the same. And we found that it has worked well and integrated well with our calendaring and Facebook.
The oh, I can speak a little bit. The county chamber launched a new e-commerce site during the pandemic to try to offer a somewhat easy way for any business to get online with a shop. And I kind of describe it as a local Etsy marketplace. So it's shop STLC is the URL. And it allows members to essentially just set up that shop, and then they can link, you could still on your website say shop here. It would take you off of your website, as Marina mentioned. It takes you off your website into your shop on this other website, but it's an option to have an e-commerce site for pretty minimal cost. So we've been playing around with that and trying to get a better understanding of how that can be helpful and how we can help people use that even more. I would say from a personal business perspective, my own retail shop, I've found that having one platform for e-commerce is very helpful from an administrative perspective. So, people can sell on Facebook, they can have people Venmo them money, you can sell all over the place. It becomes quite a bookkeeping nightmare. So I have tried on my website to just filter everything through my website. So whenever I promote on Facebook or anywhere else, I try to have it go back through there. Even if a customer contacts me and says, hey, I saw something in your window. If it's not on my website, I'll make a special listing for them and I'll say, please just go and get it there. And it's integrated with my point of sale and my inventory. So I don't have to do that extra work either. So those are just all things when, depending on what you're producing, if everything is individual custom work, that's one thing. If you are doing wholesale or if you're reproducing prints or something like that, where you have 20 of this particular print, you can build your inventory into that system. And so some e-commerce sites have that kind of bookkeeping background. So I think the other piece with that is to try to think, as you're getting into this, of what your greater vision is, because you might start and say, oh yeah, that'll do. And then your business blows up and you get a wholesale account, and then those start to explode, and then all of a sudden you have to redo your entire website and redo all of your accounting because your pencil and paper aren't working anymore. So I think if your dream for yourself is to be an artist in business, and I'm just presenting this from my kind of business perspective on this, more so than artist specific, is to look at different e-commerce platforms that have that bookkeeping element in place. So for example, Square has the ability to have a website. It also has the ability to run kind of bookkeeping reports, things like that. But there are a lot of them that do that and allow you to track inventory. Some of them have shipping integrated, which is also a nice feature that they do not all have. So try to kind of lay out your like all the possibilities in the next 5 years of how you see e-commerce working for you, or kind of best case scenarios, so that you get in it in a place where you can grow with it.
Thank you. Let's see. Let's talk a little about, now you have a beautiful website, your whys. We're going to see how a little bit about upkeep and maintenance and the kinds of things you should be doing once you're up and running. So first of all, very important question, how do you drive traffic to your website? Using analytics or search engine optimization, word of mouth, how do you actively promote your website?
In all of our posts, we always direct people to us. So through our social media is probably the biggest one. There's things too that are super simple. If you're an artist and you have an artist studio and you want people to come and visit, put yourself on the Google map so that people in the area can find you. That's a really good way to direct people. And then Google Analytics actually tells us all the time how many people found us that way.
Another good way is if you have a newsletter, whether you're an arts organization or an artist, you can just link everything that you possibly could. So like I was saying earlier, we use our website to sell tickets and have people fill out forms on our website. That's how we conduct everything. So when I'm creating an email newsletter, excuse me, I typically like linking photos to specific pages on our website. I'll also create little buttons, call to action buttons within the email newsletter. Our logo, I'll link just to our homepage. And while that doesn't actively, like the images don't actively drive people, people will click on images and that will send them to your website. So you never know.
We've been doing the same with blog posts. So we'll do a little teaser on Facebook and Instagram, and to get the rest of it, you have to go to the website.
And a couple of kind of search engine optimization tricks that are pretty easy. Typically, any website is going to have built in now. Most of them have little blocks like keywords and meta tags and things like that that you absolutely should take the time to fill in. But another tip that I got recently that I was surprised I didn't know about, but if you title your images with keywords, then they will show up better in Google Images. So Google is obviously a huge search engine. A lot of people will just search, they'll click on the Google Images tab. So if your painting is of a ship on the St. Lawrence River in Ogdensburg, then if you put those keywords into your image, if someone Googles Ogdensburg or ship watching or St. Lawrence River and clicks on image, they might come up with all these, news pictures and things like that, and then they're going to see your beautiful painting. So I think that's kind of like an SEO hack, I would say. Like, you're already titling your image, and hopefully it's not XYZ003BD, it's take the time, and location is very important as a keyword. So, if that's a regional location or whatever, but your image title can be long. So that's a little, I think, pretty easy SEO hack. So you're labeling it the image title before you even upload it to your website. That's that trick. I forgot. Oh, the other thing was a plug for chambers and arts councils and organizations like that. Search engines recognize organizations like ours as legitimate. And so if you are a member and are listed on these type of organizations, that listing will likely show up in a Google search even before your own website does. And then it drives the traffic to your website. So there is value in being part of our organizations as well, in terms of SEO and people finding you in that way.
And to add to what Brooke said, definitely, there's opportunities for cross-platform traffic as well. So for example, if you're an artist and you're going to an event and your website says you're going to an event, somewhere there is an event calendar online that will, maybe your website might show up, but that event calendar, or if you're a member of another organization, you will show up in a search for another cross-platform. So use cross-platform you can. And even the simplest, go back to simplest, make sure your website is in your email signature. I mean, that's the lowest, the low hanging fruit that most people forget.
Any other comments? At this time, we're going to open this up to questions. Does anyone have any questions for our panelists today regarding websites? Oh my goodness. Uh-oh. Well,
Is that my fault?
no, it's mine. Hold on. Okay. Sorry. So no
Hello.
questions. Oh,
Hello, this is Ron Sinclair.
hi, Ron.
I had to get up a couple of times. I may have missed this, but the cost of a website. I know there used to be such things as free ones that you could, but probably most of these are costing. Is there a cost factor, and what's the range and so on to get a free one, or to pay out as minimally as you possibly can if you have to do that? Can you help me there?
I can chime in a little bit there. It varies. You can certainly get a free website. I think the most important thing, as we've kind of come in and out of, is thinking about using your website as part of your overall strategy and really understanding what is your website doing for you, and investing in that, whether it's time or money, but understanding that it's part of what you're trying to do. It's part of your artist journey or your business, and investing in the website that's going to work for you, and ultimately pay you back much more than you've invested, hopefully. But it can start from free up to, I've built over $30,000 websites for county tourism. So it really ranges. Some of them have monthly fees so that it can just work into a monthly budget, which is sometimes easier. There are ones that are fully customized, typically cost more, or there are templates that you can build into that are a lower cost. And then again, they might have add-ons for e-commerce or various things. So it really depends on what you want to get out of it too.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? I think we're going to wrap up a little early today. Well, we will try to get some notes together, and we will see you again in April, I hope. Let me just see when our next meeting is.
I guess if I can just add, sorry to be talking so much. I've just
Sure.
spent a lot of time working on websites and also being an overwhelmed business person. So I can imagine that you all are overwhelmed by all of these ideas. And I would just say, start somewhere. The suggestion to start looking at websites that you like, or even just to think about, what is one thing I would like to be doing better this year, and then starting there, trying to think big picture, but just taking baby steps. And just attending something like this is so helpful, because every time you'll absorb a little bit more, and the concepts will make more sense and start to build on each other. But definitely also reach out to your resources. And I'll also mention the small business development centers that are located across the country, offer free one-on-one counseling, and several of them have e-commerce experience or marketing experience that they can help you. If nothing else, just kind of think about it and then refer you to local web designers as well.
And to piggyback on what Brooke said, it is definitely overwhelming and daunting to figure out where to get started. But the advantage of that is you can always change it. If it doesn't work, try something new. That's the nice thing about websites. They're not etched in stone. So if you find that you start with and going with a month-to-month, service is a great opportunity for that flexibility. If you try something for a couple months and you find that you're the lone ranger doing websites and it's just too much for you, there's loads of different resources out there, different web providers, different, always an opportunity.
Thank you, Anita. Anybody else have any other comments or questions that they'd like to share?
I think I'll just tack on one more thing for the artists that are out there who might not have a website and are thinking about it. Maybe also it's worth identifying what's preventing you from getting a website. What are the reasons you don't have one already? I am bringing this up because for me personally, I didn't have a website for a really long time. I'm in the process of building my own website right now, but my main reason was having my artwork stolen. It's happened to me in the past, and finding your artwork for sale on eBay that's not yours and doesn't have your name attached to it is pretty scary. But then eventually I started to realize like I wanted to see all my art in one place, and that overcame that. So now I'm taking a risk and maybe it'll happen, but that was my big block. Even over how was I going to build a website? It was that, like, once your stuff is out there, it's out there. So yeah, I would say just really think about like what is it that's preventing you. If it's money, then yeah, there are free versions. Is it you don't have enough stuff to put up? Because at one point that was me. You can always start somewhere. Put 10 pieces up, that's fine. You can always add to it. Is it you don't think that you'll have enough content? Once again, you can keep adding. But yeah, maybe really identify what it is that's preventing you from starting a website in the first place.
Hi there. I just want to chime in and having a comment about that. First of all, I want to introduce myself. I'm George. I'm also myself a web designer. I consider myself as a website evangelist because I'm one of those who believe everybody should have a website, just as a business card. I might not know many of you. I recognize few faces. Naomi and I, we work together. And then Brooke from St. Lawrence County, a few days ago, I was there registering my business right there. So as somebody that's worked with the website for over 6 years, one thing that also actually recognize even here, like just in St. Lawrence County, I visit tons of websites. That's part of my job, just kind of see and then trying to get the customers, is that the people build website, but then they have challenge maintain their website. Not only just visually, but technically, like today, it's so easy to hack websites. And part of myself is like me, like that's why I'm doing like kind of studying, see ways like how can I hack this website and then see the weakness. Because a lot of people, they built their website, they never go back and then even change like not even one letter, like in terms of content, like they pay people to do that and then they just leave it. But then over the time, what's happening is that your traffic drops because people actually that used to visit your websites, like they start realize, oh, you haven't changed this website for quite a while. On the other hand, because technology has evolved so fast, like every week now as we talk, like things tend to get updated. If you're not keeping up, your website most likely will die, or somebody will hack all the precious information perhaps that you have out there. So the security aspect, it's also something that I just want to kind of emphasize. And I'm very happy, by the way, for all what you guys have put out there. I just love the idea that there is a group of people talking about websites. So I was told yesterday, I said like, put me in. So that's how I ended up to be here.
Thank you for sharing that. Well, at this time, if no one's got any other questions, we'll say thank you and we'll see you again in April. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, thank you.